Hi everyone, my name is Sean. I'm from the Pacific Basin Telehealth Resource Center. And today on our behalf, we have Dwayne Lopes, who is from the Pacific Emergency Medical Service for Children region. Dwayne has been a key contributor and collaborator for us over time, and we're really excited to have him today. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dwayne.
Oh, aloha, good morning. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Becky, Sean, truly appreciate it. My name is Dwayne Lopes, and I'm very honored to be able to present to you some of the exciting work that we've been doing in building a region system of care, actually a true collaboration. What it entices as it shows on there, I'm actually speaking on behalf of our larger group, which is we identify ourselves as PIER. It's the Pacific Islands Emergency Medical Services for Children region. And it encompasses, or as our collaborative group, is American Samoa, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, Guam, Hawaii, Republic of Palau, the Federated States of Micronesia, and the Republic of the Marshall Islands. This is important that I want to point out that as we're building and developing this, these are roughly 7 different independent EMSC programs, federally funded, that have come together to work collectively to address our issues, healthcare and the like. A little bit of history on this, how the Emergency Medical Services for Children came about. Well, first and foremost, it is actually the longest running federally sponsored grant program that focuses specifically on children's emergency care needs. It was actually started as far back as 1979 under Dr. Calvin Sia, who's up in the upper left-hand corner. He actually advocated towards the American Academy of Pediatrics the need to create a more EMS diversified program that addresses or tries to decrease the disabilities and deaths in children. Fast forward a little bit further, about 4 years to 1983, 1984, Senator Daniel Inouye, who has passed in the bottom corner, his chief of staff actually encountered a major issue with the care between treating a pediatric patient as a small adult, which they shouldn't be, versus an adult care hospital providing the services. What had happened was his 13-year-old had gotten severely ill, and it actually traumatized him and the family in the type of care that they received. But it did inspire. All good things come about. Senator Inouye, as well as other great senators that had same and similar results to create the EMSC program. Today, it actually represents the EMSC program is in all 50 states, all 5 U.S. territories, and starting 2013, actually encompasses the 3 freely associated states. That will be, again, the Republic of Palau, Republic of the Marshall Islands, and the Federated States of Micronesia. But let's give a little bit global perspective on this. I want to start from somewhere in that 20,000 foot range and come down to around that 8,000 foot. This is our backyard. This is the Pacific Ocean. According to the CIA fact book, this is the largest open body of water. If you look at the outer rim of the Pacific Ocean, you can fit 15 continental United States within its borders and boundaries. Hawaii, which is right in the middle, our state, is actually the most isolated body on Earth. If you go from Hawaii, the island itself, to the west coast of the United States, it's roughly 2,500 miles. If you go southerly to American Samoa, the distance between Hawaii and Samoa is about 2,300 miles. If you go to the west, further to the west, looking at Guam or CNMI, Saipan, it's roughly 3,100 miles. The point I'm making with this is as we collaboratively work together, any healthcare of an American system here in the Pacific having to travel or seek care in the continental United States is roughly traveling about 3,000 or 5,000 to 6,000 miles to reach that care. This is a little better picture of what we're zooming in on. These are our groups and our territories. We refer to each other as our ohana, but this is our family. These are each individual EMSC programs. Within this group is we decided that working on our different endeavors and where we're at, our performance measures, which is what our grant is focused on, is really looking at how to care and improve EMS care, emergency medical service care, for children, but also is inclusive is how to bring about advanced diagnostics that are required, as well as creating a system of care that not only focuses primarily on children, but also on the family and adults, which means for sustainability. As we worked as a group, this performance measures, the 76 and 77, actually looks at a program that must look to establish a hospital transfer process and hospital transfer guidelines that are inclusive, again, of the pediatric and the family. In here, it was quite difficult for the Pacific region to try to achieve this goal, and we felt that this was a point that we could come together and work on. So our first steps of building our region of care, which really is at its base foundation, is we look around us. When you build a home or you build a building, you always make sure that your foundation is solid. You make sure you have right equipment and the like. And that is our base of how we came together, what we're doing. First, our general vision of what we are looking to create or are creating. We're looking to do a state-of-the-art emergency medical care for injured children and ill children and adolescents, regardless of where they are and the need arises. We're looking to conduct pediatric services that are well integrated into an emergency medical service backed by optimum resources. We're also looking to span the entire spectrum of emergency services, including injury, prevention, illness, adult care, and rehabilitation. And we're looking forward to make sure that it includes all levels, starting with our children, but then most definitely making sure that this program includes adolescents, adults. I mentioned about a foundation. Any building that's worth its value, that goes and rises above, must be built on a strong foundation. I think this is relevant to any type of program that's out there. If the program isn't strong on its base and its understanding, its collaboration, and its support of each other, it's doomed to crack. It's doomed to not fail, but it'll always have issues and problems. But here we built a strong foundation by creating our PIER team, by bringing together our coalition groups on a common understanding. We're now recognized through HRSA, which is where the grant actually originates, from HRSA, maternal child health care, into our national EMSC program. We're now recognized as a region, so we now have commonality of not only where we reside and our common issues that we must deal with, but we also have common culture. And that is huge in a lot of ways of what we're doing and why we work so effectively together. But we also have the ability now, because of culture and because of our responsibility, to bring together good support, partners, and communities. The last part that we'll be working on, that I'll be explaining with you, is how we're now choosing strong materials. Good, strong foundation. Many of the other endeavors that are being conducted within the Pacific region, because there are many noteworthy projects that are going forward. And we believe it's not a competition, but it's a way for us to bring forward our issue and to be able to further that collaboration. The first thing we had to do, believe it or not, was we had to really understand where we came from or what we actually have within our own states, territories, or island nations. This is 2010, prior to the admission of the COFA states. So again, with American Samoa, Guam, CNMI, Saipan, and Hawaii, we each did an individual review and combined it into a summary paper, actually looking at all of the systems of care that exists between or within our own borders. And this was good because it did a couple of things. It opened us up to understand what we were dealing with, the scope and the breadth of our endeavor. But it also created a lot more of partnerships. In order to get that information, we needed those partnerships to have. From that partnerships, we realized that there was a severe lack of any type of collection of data or information that was occurring within the Pacific, namely looking at who's being transferred where, under what conditions, for how long, what costs. So again, understanding we're looking at a hospital transfer type process as our focus, and now we moved our way down to start understanding the system, and now understanding really what is happening within our Pacific region, which was a shock to a lot of us. A real quick note, if you look on there, towards the bottoms, we have sort of the top 5 of why they were being transferred. And it was kind of a shock to us that it was sort of all over the place. It wasn't that it was all uniform or concise. I do want to make one other point with this. This covers the span of 2009 to 2011. We're currently taking on the next 3 years, 2012 to 2015. And we are now in the creation of a data repository. So this will be an ongoing effort. And our hopes is that this will help drive papers, studies, and be used as a more effective reference. But as we move from there now, we now see what's happening in Pacific. People are transferring. So our next thing with our white paper that brought next, the question is, how are we transferring patients? What is the process that's being used? This again brought forward a lot of our discussions because we were under a lot of misunderstandings amongst each other. And so from here, we decided to work together on establishing a guideline. I want to make clear that we establish a guideline, not a contract. But this guideline's intent is to make sure that throughout our Pacific region, there's an organized process that people can follow. Exactly who's arranging the EMS transfer or pickup from the hospitals? Who arranges the reverse transfer back home? And this is what our endeavor has gone. We're now about 80% complete. We now have the ability, or we've worked our way down to actually set up what the roles are, what their details are that they should be looking for, who their coordination efforts are. We're now at the point where we are looking to bring in more of the commercial airlines, namely United, Hawaiian Airlines. And the reason for that, it sounds a bit odd, but it's because the Pacific Ocean is so massive that the commercial airlines has become the major transfer mechanism through the Pacific region. So it's important that we have them involved so we understand who assumes legal medical command when in the air, what type of equipment can be brought on. And we believe by knowing that, it'll help us to really determine what level of care transfers can exist before a ALS type service has to be brought in. As a little matter of note, the moment you bring in an ALS service, it starts at $50,000. And that's just making the call to start the process. And it can run over $100,000 for a simple transfer of a patient, the care providers, from one end of the Pacific to the other. And that brings us to our next part. I always refer to this as peanut butter and chocolate because it is my favorite, but we can use any analogy people would like, peas and carrots, whichever would apply. But it was in this endeavor, 30 years and counting with the EMSC brought about by Senator Inouye. At the same time, we bumped into another group that was operating, conducting, and doing fabulous work within the Pacific. And that's the University of Hawaii, the Telecommunications and Social Informatics Research Program. They too were sponsored and brought on by Senator Dan Inouye. But we just seemed to be missing each other. But really what came about, and our partnership is so strong, and I'm extremely proud of this, is that they have the infrastructure built that they brought themselves up to that needed a program to show its worth and value that would be on that, to show why that infrastructure was important. In the reverse, we were a program that was rich in need, that needed to be done, but had no infrastructure in order to effectuate it outwards. And in here, I must give a small plug, again, under Dr. Norma Okumura, Christina Higa, Thomas Okumura, Kaina, Sean, my friend here, you guys do an excellent job. But they're used throughout the history of using decommissioned NASA satellites, anything to improve that communication within the Pacific. And it's their breadth and wealth of knowledge that brings forward such a strong collaboration. But now that we are together, we have infrastructure base. This really helps us to work on what is our primary issue, is trying to bring about the communication so that we can share our wealth, our dedication of what we're trying to accomplish. But here is where we created our first step. We now look at how to further our communication, especially in the way of written side, knowing that a transfer process that occurs, being HIPAA compliant, must include all of the patient's information, demographics, and their past care, but has to be done in a secure manner in its transfer. How this has been conducted throughout most of the Pacific time has been somewhat on using Google, Skype, and these other types. Very small numbers in that way. But a lot of it has been taking all of their CAT scans, MRIs, putting it into a CD or a DVD, making reams of paper of their chart, putting it into envelope packet and having the family hand carry it to bring it over. So this is an endeavor that we're working forward on. It's the beginning or the start of really a health information exchange like, which again collaborates over into one of the many endeavors that the UH-TASI group is bringing forward to the Pacific region. But in here, it's more of an exchange like, it's that first stage of information exchange. In this picture, it has multiple meanings and it's facets of what it is. First and foremost, in its more graphic presentation, this is really how our discharge process occurs. This also represents how and what we would do in the way of releasing care, or releasing information in a HIPAA-compliant fashion. But real quickly on you, the inner circle is our health exchange, which really is the connection of information. It allows our discharge coordinators, who have become known to be the pinnacle of the whole process. It allows them to be in control of who they're reaching out to, of where that patient will be sent to for either transfer of care, for advanced higher levels of care, or for advanced diagnostics. But it also keeps them in that continuous loop. It allows the discharge coordinator to bring in, when appropriate, the discharge and admitting physicians. And furthermore, on the outer circle, it allows for, when appropriate, and with how much information is required, to bring in the outer needs, your specialty care physicians, your health networks, advanced diagnostics. But this keeps a continuous control and flow of the information that actually works quite well. Our next step is taking that kind of written information and detail. How do we now bring about communication that further, using technology, telemedicine, telehealth, telecommunication? And here again, our endeavors and our collaboration is where we are today, which really is linking all together. With UH-TASI's guidance again and their knowledge, our servers being located within their facilities and their ability to help in the maintenance, training, and also IT type support, we are now branching out to release open using video, VIDYO, the video company, to actually come about and start bringing about telemedicine's capabilities. I will note right as we started doing this, the first oppositions to all of this was, we don't have enough money to support a cardiac service or to support a full ED service. We don't have. Collectively, what we came up with was, we wanted to focus, hey, what if our focus on this is how to get your patients home sooner, how to get them home faster? If you're each individual commonwealths and your own individual island states are actually sending and paying the money to transfer your patient all the way across the Pacific, either to Hawaii or the continental, it'd be in your best interest to get them home sooner. And if they could come home sooner, and the referring physicians that did the procedure or process could communicate to do the follow-up care, what a benefit in all way. And that broke through the ice of everything that we required. Everyone saw the sound logic in that. Then the discussion became, how do we include at the grassroots level to bring in the community physicians, bring in other diagnostics and follow-throughs, and even possibly bring in the communication to the home of the patient. That'll help and yield for them how not to have to transfer on their own dime again. So, and that's our focus on where we're moving forward. We do have a keen eye in our next goals to focus on more specific type cares. But when we get to that level, which is coming soon, it'll be driven by each of our individual partners, because they will be driving what is most needed in their area. Now it is perceived to be needed. But in here a little bit more downwards, down towards our 8,000 foot level, because we're not going to be, well, what's in existence now is a lot of the legacy type equipment that everyone's familiar with, which is a huge bandwidth utilizer. And here, using more modern technologies on the video, and again, from the precursor of GoToMeetings and the like, we're able to bring it down to using the more modern technology of C30 Logitech cameras or the like, or the C3000s. We know that those do a lot more of the processing within the camera itself, thus improving performance of the PC or of the computer base. So that yields in a greater outcome of the picture qualities and the type of services we can use. It also, because of video using less of the bandwidth or being more conscious of its bandwidth use, will help us to improve in the Pacific region, where bandwidth usage capabilities or what is available can be extremely limited. or can be, is extremely limited. But in here, now that we have a secure messaging that's being developed, we have a focus, determination of what we're working towards. We also have the communication infrastructure that's in place. We now move to what can we effectively put on to our communication or into our process that we can start yielding results. And in those results, we learn, we experience, and then we keep overcoming and keep growing from. And this is where I need to give another incredible shout out to a group. It's the Shriners Hospital System. They're located throughout the continental US as well as within Hawaii. In Hawaii, we have the Hospital of Orthopedics, Pediatric Orthopedics. They also have cardiac units in Pittsburgh. They also have burn units, spinal, as well as hand surgeries in the mix. But here in Honolulu, pediatrics, since the 1920s, Shriners Hospital of Honolulu has been conducting and providing extremely needed orthopedic care throughout the Pacific region, which also includes Asia Minor and Asia Major, through Russia, Korea, China, as well as within the Pacific region and our partners. But in that mix, as far back as the 80s, under Dr. Craig Ono, who's the chief of surgery, he's been initiating a type of telehealth resource so that they can conduct more of their initial evaluations as well as their follow-up conduct. But again, because of technology at the time using more legacy equipment, it was very limited to just a few type locations and in its use. But nonetheless, there are pioneers, and through their experience, they have come on board with our PIER and UH-TASI project. And they are now using our system to actually expand their Shriners healthcare. And here's the win-win of the situation. As they move out, they are now partnering with the EMSC's programs, which creates the grassroots coordination of care and bringing together the partnerships at the grassroots to meet, introduce, and work with Shriners for this valuable care service. At the same time, Shriners is evaluating their area for how they can do or use telemedicine or any advanced type care processes, as well as working with us on developing policy and procedures on how to stage a patient and how to use the care effectively, how to do follow-ups and the likes. And so what we've established with Shriners is a C1, do one, teach one. This is where I had referenced earlier that soon our own individual programs or island states will be developing their own program, and it'll come from this experience. Our next process that we're looking at is to get people over their fears and getting them to use telemedicine, telehealth, telecommunication is our offering of online type education. Within the state of Hawaii, we contract our 911 services. So one of our major contractees is the American Medical Response. They've developed a hospital-to-hospital advanced care transfer program in teaching care providers how to handle and maintain a patient from one critical access hospital to another higher level of care and maintaining the stability of that patient throughout that transition. Again, they have no hospital, limited equipment, and must rely upon true skills. Now, in this program, it's brought down a couple of steps because we're building its development and how it's used and applied. Our ultimate goal is to reach the same type of UMBC type course that's offered, which is a critical care emergency medical transport. But I bring on this because as we're doing this course, it will be televised to allow our Pacific region partners to participate. Now, they might not be able to take the course in its full entirety, but this will expose them to the level of course, the level of training, the level of education, and knowledge that is there. So this allows for the EMSC programs throughout to help to work to bring them up to that skill level. Our eventual goal is that in accompanying a patient that is being transferred for level of care, we will have competent, well-trained persons accompanying them. Another part that comes off of this is with the Kapi'olani Community College. They're also part of the University of Hawaii system. They are looking to use this system resource, our Open-Telehealth project, to be able to bring the first of its kind for them is to offer the respiratory care program to American Samoa, to where they have 12 clinical therapists training to become registered respiratory therapists. And this will allow them to advance that training to meet that level. So now we've also are looking in what we're doing, we're now offering and working towards workforce development in addition to creating a program that we're doing. And these are just collaborations of wonderful, incredible programs that are coming together because we have a common cause and a common equipment. Another is we are focusing also within Hawaii, within our own island states, that we're trying to create a community network, because what we're doing in the Pacific region is a large spectrum. As we bring it down to a smaller spectrum, that is what we deal with daily within the state of Hawaii, transferring patients inter-island for the same level of service and care. So this applies in that way. And we also are honored to have the MCH-LEN, the Maternal Child Health, Learning and Encephalopathy. I always mess this up a little bit, and I apologize to everyone out there. Encephalopathy and Neurological Development Program. Dr. Louise Iishi is the main spark plug and the main drive of this program. She is also partnering and utilizing in this program to have it developed outwards in the Pacific, as well as continuing with our regional patient referral and follow-up care programs. And in here, I do want to give a note that we're working very closely with PAHOA, the Pacific Highlands Health Officers Organization. They are an incredible format that have an established program. And again, we are becoming a wonderful complement, good neighbor, and good collaborative with. So in here, I bring about towards our closure of this program is our PIER development, our continuing going forward. These are our agreed upon development programs of where we're headed. We're now looking at how to assure that we always are HIPAA compliant in all facets and all ways. So we're looking at how to assure that we have system security applications, as well as it being implemented throughout all phases of what we're conducting and doing. We are creating an AMSC business plan, which is now breaking up into chapters, because as we continue to move about, we're seeing more and more reason to develop or to bring in new facets into our endeavors. So this is an ongoing plan that we're going, but it also serves as an advance to our initial summary paper to assure that all partners are involved, everyone has a clear understanding of our focus, of our goals, and where we're headed. And it doesn't quite pigeonhole people into our direction, but it allows people to start thinking outside the box of what can be brought in to enhance and promote what we're doing. Our other part is, as I mentioned, Shriners is out now working on the development and building the partnerships using our collaboratives together, but soon they will be using this program to conduct their initial evaluations of orthopedic patients, of who should be deemed needing that transfer, the care, and the surgery, but they will also be using this program to get their Shriners patients home sooner. You see, as of current, the patients from Shriners are not released until they're 100% well. And that's because of the tendency to lose contact with that patient after the surgical procedures have been performed, and then the return of that patient to repeat the services that's happened. That's kind of in their history of what's been happening. And so here we see, and we're glad that they share that they found a way that this will support them also. And we're also looking to establish network policies, procedures, administrative rules to ensure that everything we're doing is used in a collaborative manner, that it is used to benefit a regional system of care, and that it used to develop each of the programs which develops the care for their people throughout our Pacific region. And our last part is to always assure that we're moving towards a collaborative assurance, that we're looking towards quality programs, processes, which may include surveys of the links. Which brings us to our final closure. This is our 2014 conference, where every year we bring together our PIER representatives. I will make a note that many of our PIER representatives have dual jobs, such as myself. Our PIER representatives include physicians of the areas that they represent. They include EMS medical directors, they include directors of care, and the such. So bringing that kind of wealth of information together brings us where we're at. That really is where we're at. And I just want to, again, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak and talk. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and open up the lines here. Also, if folks have questions, they want to use the chat functionality, I'll go ahead and send a chat out to everyone. And we had a couple of people join on the phone, so let me get them unmuted. Okay, everyone. Any questions? All right. Well, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and end today's session. I do want to remind everyone that we will be posting the recording on the National Telehealth Resource Center YouTube channel, and that should be up within the next 24 hours. Thank you all, and have a great day.
Thank you.